Hi guys, my name is Dana, and if this is your first stream with Учёба.ру, I'm really happy to see you here. Today we're going to talk about the oral part of the exam. In this part, you get 4 tasks and 20 points. Can you imagine 20 points for only four tasks, right? That's absolutely amazing if you ask me, but to get those 20 points, you have to be really good at speaking, and you also need to know a lot of stuff about these tasks in particular. First of all, let's check. Can you hear and see me well? Please write in the chat. I will wait for your responses. All right, guys, while we're waiting, let's have a look at this slide. This slide is about me. My name is Dana, as I've already told you, and I'm a senior methodologist and teacher at the online school Учёба.ру. There are quite a few facts here on the slide about me, but the most important thing to know about me is that I'm absolutely in love with the English language. And I also love sharing my knowledge with other people, so that's why I'm here. A couple of things about our school as well, because I'm not here alone, right? I'm here with the help of Учёба.ру. So, Учёба.ру has graduated 12,000 graduates, and 4,200 students got 80 plus for their exams with us. We got amazing teachers, not only me, of course, teachers on every subject that you can pass these exams, ЕГЭ and ОГЭ. Here on the slide, you can see some of their photos. Amazing, right? Absolutely beautiful. All right, with our school, you can get guaranteed entrance to university if you do everything we ask of you. If you prepare with us on 3 exams, don't miss any classes, and do your homework, of course. Right? Sorry, not everything, right? We also get a mock exam every month so that we can check your progress, and you can check your progress as well, right? And as for English, you study English in different level groups, which is, well, an amazing opportunity to study at your own pace, right? Okay. As for our topic today, the oral part, right? The first thing you need to know about the oral part is that it takes place on a separate day, right? So you write your written part on one day, then you go home, you relax, and I don't know, do all the stuff that you do after the exam, and then you come back again on a separate day and you pass the oral part. Usually, the oral part should take only 17 minutes of your time. But unfortunately, not only you want to pass the oral part, right? So there are some students there with you, and it might take up to 3 hours to pass this exam because you might not be the first in line, right? So the time that you will spend on this part of the exam can vary, right, from well, not maybe 17 minutes, right? 17 minutes is, right, the time that you are actually in the classroom, right, passing your exam. But I don't know, maybe from half an hour, right, to 3 hours, according to, well, your place in the queue. Then, just speaking versus rules. What does that mean? Well, guys, just like with any exam, right, just having very good speaking skills, of course, won't let you get maximum points, unfortunately, right? Every exam works this way. You have to know lots of stuff about the tasks themselves, right, and about the structure of the exam to actually get the maximum points, 20 points for this particular part. So we do need to learn all the rules, right? We do need to follow them. But of course, the base, right, of your success is, well, your speaking skill, right? So at our school, we got a speaking club just for you to work on those skills, on the skills of free speech in English. And I personally think that this is an absolutely amazing opportunity and you should use it. All right, and the last thing here, silence versus other students. Unfortunately, right, you're not the only person in the classroom when you're passing this exam. So other students and, well, their exam can be a distractor, right? It can distract you, it can confuse you, make you feel stressed. So unfortunately, again, just like with any other exam, you have to, well, know how to cope with stress, right? You have to try and feel like you're alone, right? So meditating probably might help, right? Let's practice that as well this year. All right, guys, moving on to speaking one. I promised you 4 speaking tasks, so we are going to have a quick look at all of them today together. I will do the tasks with you so that, well, you can have a look at what it's usually like. Okay, so the first speaking task is the easiest one. Here, you just need to read the text out loud for the computer to hear it, to record it, and then for the experts to grade it. Oh, are there any details that you should know? Of course, there are, just like in any other task, right? Here you got a story, right? You always get it in the instruction. We have to imagine that we are preparing a project, right, with our friend, and we have found some interesting material for the presentation that we want to share with our friend. So we are maybe recording this, right, for your friend. We need to read the text. We got 1.5 minutes to prepare, right? So nothing is recording you. You got 1.5 minutes to read the text to yourself, right? Silently. And then the recording will start and you will have to read the text out loud for the computer to record it. Guys, the most important thing is not to forget that you don't only have to read the words correctly, right? Because that's not the most popular mistake that the students actually make. The most popular mistake is with intonation, right? So we fall at the end of sentences. Let's take the first one as an example. There is nothing fancy or expensive about happiness. I fell at the end of the sentence, right? So my intonation fell like that, right? If I read this sentence like this, there is nothing fancy or expensive about happiness. On the contrary, right? I rose at the end of my sentence and that was bad. That was an intonation mistake. And I might lose some points if I make that mistake not once, but throughout the whole of my answer, right? So, sorry, just a second. Right. Our strategies. What do we do to be successful at speaking one? First of all, we read the text to ourselves, right? Silently, we do need it, right? So we got 1.5 minutes, not only to like calm our nerves, right? But also to get very familiar with the task. During those 1.5 minutes, those 90 seconds, we think through all of our pauses, right? Where are we going to stop and take a breath, right? Where are we going to fall and where we're going to rise our intonation? That is very, very important for us. And also, unknown words. There might be some unknown words in the text. As I always say, please do not be scared of them, right? They are everywhere, not only at the exam, but also in life, right? We meet unknown words almost every day in every language, even the Russian language that you speak pretty fluently, I hope, right? So unknown words are nothing to be scared of, but we do need to think about them before we start reading for the computer, for the recording, right? We do need to decide very strictly, very firmly decide how we are going to read them, right? Because if we make a long pause right, when we meet that unknown word while the computer is recording us, that is not only going to be one mistake. If you read the unknown word incorrectly, those are going to be two mistakes for the long pause, because it is illogical to take a pause there in the text, and also for the unknown word, right, that you might read incorrectly. So those 90 seconds are there to help us, I don't know, to give us time, right, to think through all the unknown words, how we're going to read them, and, well, be confident, right? That's actually our last strategy for this task. Do not hurry, right? When we're stressed, we tend to try to end this as fast, as quickly as we can, but that could lead to more mistakes, right? Not only reading the words incorrectly, but also intonation mistakes, stress mistakes, right, and all that. All those unnecessary things that might lose us a point for this task. So we need to be, or at least seem, very, very sure of ourselves, right? We know how to do this. We've been studying for a year or even more, right? So we are here to win. Nothing else, right? Nothing less, okay? What can we do with those unknown words if we meet them? Well, we can, of course, just read them as we think we should, right? That's one way, and it can work if you have a pretty good command of English, right? It might work for you. Another thing that maybe not a lot of students use, you can look at the word and try to think of a similar word that looks like it, right? And think of the way that you might pronounce those letters, right, in that combination in another word that you're sure of. It doesn't always work, of course, but it is at least something, right, to base your decision on. Let's hope you will know all the words in the text, right? But again, if you don't, please don't feel scared, don't panic, because panic never leads to anything good, right? Okay, guys, and the last thing here on the slide that I wanted to share with you is, well, the points, right? How many do we get for such an easy and at the same time stressful task? Only 1 point, right? Unfortunately, this task brings us only 1 point, but guys, this year and last year, every point really does count, right? We got only 82 final points, so one does not equal one final point, right? One percentage. So every point counts. We do need every last one of them, right? Okay, so let's have a look at what we need to study to be better at this task. Okay, so there are quite a lot of things here, right? Let's get through them, and then I will tell you that none of this matters. I'm kidding. Right, so to be very successful in speaking one, we have to study different pronunciation of different consonants, right, with the same letter. Consonant sounds and consonant letters are not the same thing, right? So if you get letter G, wait, sorry, Russian language, G, right? If you get letter G, it doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to pronounce it as G, right? It can be G, it can be J, and it can be J, right? So G, got it, right? Got, that's G, but the letter is still G. The word garage, right? We are pronouncing it with J at the end, garage, but the letter is still G, right? And I don't know, generation, right? J, and the letter is G. So 3 different ways to pronounce the same consonant letter, and we do need to know how to do that in different word combinations, letter combinations, right, and in different words. So at our main course, of course, we are studying all of them, right, in detail. Okay, next one, a short and a long vowel, right? The difference between them, and the neutral sound schwa, right? So again, we do need to know the difference, right, between long and short vowels, and when we are able to, when we are allowed to pronounce the vowels as the neutral sound schwa. Diphthongs, also a very important topic to study in phonetics. What combinations of letters get us diphthongs, when we do need them, when we don't, right? Word stress. Word stress is also, of course, extremely important because it is also part of phonetics. We are studying here different tendencies, right? Noun verb, for example, this combination of parts of speech does have a tendency. No, okay, for example, these two words look absolutely the same, right? With the exception of to, right? To tells us that this is a verb, right? And we need to pronounce it as to record, right? The stress is on the second syllable, to record. But if that's a noun, can we guess? Yeah, the stress is on the first syllable, a record, right? So word stress and all the secrets behind it are also, of course, studied at our main course in the school. Homographs, homonyms, all of those words that confuse everyone, right? Those are the words that might look the same but are pronounced differently. For example, to live, right? A verb, and live, an adverb. For example, right now I'm speaking to you live, but I live in Moscow, right? So they look absolutely the same, but are pronounced differently because they're different parts of speech, and, well, such words we call homographs. We are, of course, studying all of them, right? Well, not all of them, but a lot of them, right? Trying to remember them and doing different exercises with them. It's actually quite fun with this part. Again, the last one, guys, intonation patterns and pauses, right? We do need to know where it is natural to fall and where it is natural for an English native speaker to rise, right? Pauses are also very important, right? We do need to pause after we've completed the sentence, but if we pause in the middle without any punctuation marks, that is a mistake in this task, right? So we do need to know how to do that correctly, how to read everything correctly. Okie doke. Are we ready to try it? Okay, well, I am going to read this text to you, just, I don't know, as an example, right? You might scroll through this if you're like, I'm very sure of myself. I don't need you, Dana, to read for me. All right, let's try it. Let's see that I get 1.5 minutes, right? Okay. There is nothing fancy or expensive about happiness. On the contrary, happiness is simple and slow. It means choosing peace and quiet over excitement. It is wearing your old pajamas and watching a movie the day before Christmas. It is sitting in your window watching the weather while sipping your favorite tea on a rainy day. It is looking into the bonfire, surrounded by your friends and family, while your bread is slowly baking. Happiness is always about appreciating the simple pleasures in life, and thus it can be achieved on a really low budget. You cannot buy the right atmosphere or a sense of togetherness. It's all about time, interest, and engagement in the people around you. Thus, happiness is an atmosphere which is not improved by spending more money on it, but rather, in some ways, the opposite. After all, the best things in life are absolutely free. Right, so I tried to fall at the end of sentences. I tried to rise when we made an enumeration list, right? And, well, I tried to pronounce all the words correctly. What I noticed while I was reading, maybe I made a mistake in this word. In this word, right? Achieved, right? Because I think I did not make the sound E long enough. So that might have been my one mistake in this task. But I still get points because we guys can make up to 5 mistakes. Not simple mistakes though, all right? So mistakes like the mistakes that don't change the meaning of the word, right? So for example, my mistake in achieved, if I did not pronounce that word with a long vowel E, that is not a bad mistake because I did not change the meaning of the word by pronouncing it a little bit differently, right? So we can make 5 mistakes like that, but we can make only 2 bad mistakes to still get our point. What are bad mistakes? A mistake that actually changes the meaning of the word, the mistake that might keep your interlocutor from understanding what you wanted to say, right? So, for example, if we look at words like bit and beat, right? The first one has a short vowel, bit, and the second one has a long sound, beat, right? So if we make a mistake like that, that is a bad mistake because it changes the meaning of the word, right? And well, the person you're talking to might not understand what you wanted to say by your sentence. All right. Are there any questions about speaking one, guys? Well, if not, we're moving on to speaking two, right? So guys, speaking two is all about asking questions, right? Here on the slide, you can see an example, right? This example is from our demo version, right, by FP. So let's have a look at it. We have the task, study the advertisement, right? After you study the advertisement, you have to ask questions, right? You always get a picture, right? In this picture, there might be people or things, right? Anything that is connected to the advertisement, right? And some I don't know, whatever. Join our journey to the mountains, right? Some slogan, right? Advertisement slogan. Okay, then we are imagining the situation. You're considering going to the mountains and now you'd like to get more information, right? So that's our story behind the task. In 1.5 minutes, this means that we have 1.5 minutes, again, 90 seconds to prepare, right? To think about what we're going to say. After that, we need to ask 4 direct questions to find out about these 4 things. Where's my pencil? Right, these 4 things. Duration of the tour, price for one, student discounts, special equipment needed. These things are always different in every task, right? So you might be asked to ask about different things connected to the advertisement. Advertisements can also be very, very different, right? There might be about a product, about some lessons or services, or a tour like here. So a lot of things can be here. And you have 20 seconds to ask each question, right? So for each question, you have your own time limit, 20 seconds. Guys, the most important things to know, right? The strategies for doing these tasks. No introductions, right? So if you're imagining this situation properly, right, you are calling someone at the, I don't know, for example, here at the travel agency, right? You're calling them and you want to ask your questions. Any sane person, right, would start with hi or hello. My name is, I don't know, Dana, and I'd like to ask you some questions, right? Any sane person would start their call like that. But in this task, you don't have to do that. Do not introduce yourself. Do not say that you want to ask some questions. Nothing from all that polite list of things to do, right? We don't need that here. So you only got 20 seconds to ask each question, right? So we're not wasting any of that time on things we don't need to say, right? The second thing, very important, we need to mention the topic of our questions. What does it mean? Well, if we are taking the previous task, right, the task that we looked at, let's have a look at it again, right? We have a tour to the mountains, right? We need to ask our first question, duration of the tour. If we ask this question like this, how long does it last? We're using it, and nobody understands what we're talking about, right? So the topic in this task is the journey to the mountains or the tour to the mountains. We do need to mention it in the first question that we ask. Then, after the first question, we can, of course, refer to it as it, right? But the first question does need to contain the topic, right? If we're asking about the tour to the mountains, we are asking, how long is the tour to the mountains, right? Or how long does the tour to the mountains last, right? If we're asking about, I don't know, an English lesson, right? We can also ask, how much does the English lesson cost, right? All the time, right? The first question needs to contain the topic of our questions. Then number 3, words and structures. What does this mean? Well, it means that we can, and it's actually a very good idea to use the words and the structures from the actual task, right? So if you have, number 1, duration of the tour, you can use absolutely the same words. What is the duration of the tour to the mountains, right? It is absolutely okay. Nobody will take away your points for just using the same words. But if you do use the same words as you have in the task, you're lowering the risk, right? Of, I don't know, maybe rephrasing it some way that the expert will not accept, right? So using the words from the task itself is actually a good thing, right? No paraphrasing is needed here. Nobody expects you to paraphrase the words from the task, okay? But articles. Articles are an extremely important thing to remember about in this task, because if you choose a wrong article, you might lose a point, right? If we think about this particular task, we have join our journey to the mountains, right? It could also be join a journey to the mountains, right? But if we use the same in our question, we are going to make a mistake, right? Because when we call someone, we're asking about a particular thing, right? So we call to, I don't know where we're calling here because there is no information on that, but I expect it's to the travel agency, right? Or to some excursion company, whatever, right? So we're calling them and we're asking about this particular journey, about this particular tour. So we're asking with the article the, right? What is the duration of the tour to the mountains? If we use some other article, no article at all, or we are making a mistake. Okay, number 4. Number 4 is also very important to remember for your own sake, because you can correct yourself. Guys, this is very important to remember. If you made a mistake, right, you are stressed, right? You are, I don't know, very worried, nervous, anxious, all those scary words, right? And you might just say something that, well, you didn't want to say, right? I know this because I'm saying lots of stuff on these streams that I want to forget about afterwards, right? Sometimes we all make mistakes. We're only human, right? That is totally okay. So if you correct yourself, you will still get a point if your last question is correct, right? So only the last question is assessed, right? If you ask 2 questions in those 20 seconds, the first one is wrong, the second one is right, the second one is going to be assessed. But also very important, if your first question was correct and then you changed it to an incorrect version, sorry, you don't get a point, right? So only the last question is assessed. Make sure that the last thing you say is correct. That is the strategy, okay? But don't be afraid to correct yourself, right? If you're sure that you said something wrong, just say it again the right way and you'll get your point. Okay. Okay, guys, about the points, right? How many do we get for speaking to? Well, we get 1 point for each correct question that we asked. And we have to ask 4 questions, right? So that gets us 4 points. Okay, 4 points for 4 correctly asked questions. I actually think it's a very good deal, right? Okay, what do we need to know to pass speaking to complete it correctly? First of all, of course, types of questions and the formation of those questions, right? How do we form questions? We have to remember about the word order, right? About all of our auxiliary verbs, where we need them, where we don't. Of course, tenses, right? Because, well, questions do have the grammar of some tense, right? When we ask a question, we do need to understand what tense we're asking it in. Usually it's present simple, but well, might be future simple, right? Might be, I don't know, the construction to be going to, right? All those things we do need to be sure of when we go to the exam, right? And all of those things, of course, we study at our course, right? The last thing, task specifics. Well, now you know basically all of them, right? We don't have to, or actually, please don't introduce yourself and do all of those things right before you ask your questions. You also can correct yourself, right, if you make a mistake. And, well, you do know about articles, right? So task specifics are also, of course, important. Always, guys. Okay, let's do the task together, right? Maybe I'll think of some mistakes here and I'll share them with you. So duration of the tour. We have already asked like 3 questions that all would be accepted. So let's write some question here. Duration of the tour. We can just ask what is the duration of the tour to the mountains. All right. Okay, I think I remember how to move this, but maybe not. Okay, give me a second, okay? This is very, very hard for me. Okay. Come on, let me move it. No? No, okay guys, sorry. Can't move stuff. Maybe I should take a course on how to move things on PDFs. Okay, number 2, price for 1. How do we ask? Well, we can ask a very clever question, right? How much does the tour cost for 1 person, right? It's a very good question. How much does the tour cost for 1 person? We got correct grammar. We're asking about this particular thing. This question is to the point, right? And it is grammatically correct. Guys, if we ask something like, how much is the price? We are going to lose a point here because the price does not cost anything, right? When we ask how much, we're asking about the price of something, right? So how much is the price sounds very, very weird and will not be accepted by the expert, okay? Number 3, student discounts. Okay, so we might not be sure what they mean by this, right? Like student discounts. Okay, so what, right? So we can ask a very general question, a yes or no question. Do you have any student discounts? Discounts. This question will be accepted by the expert because it is about student discounts. We can also ask, do you offer any student discounts, right? That would be, I don't know, a better word, right? But both of these questions will be accepted by the expert and will get you a point. Number 4, special equipment needed. Right. Unfortunately, for me and for, I don't know, I think every English language teacher, the most popular mistake here isn't in the pronunciation of the word equipment, right? There are lots of different versions that students pronounce this word, but very rarely the right way, right? So let's remember, please, equipment, equipment, right? There is a w sound there, equipment, right? Okay, and the question. What special equipment is needed? And we can finish here. What special equipment is needed, right? Or we can add for the tour, right? Both are okay, right? We can also ask something like, what special equipment do I need for the tour, right? So all of them are absolutely, both of them are absolutely okay, right? And you can use whichever one you like more, right? But please make sure that you understand the grammar of these questions, right? The first question is a subject question. That's why our word order stays the same as it was in the positive sentence, right? What special equipment is needed for the tour? Subject question means that the answer will have the same grammar structure, right? The same word order. For example, like, I don't know any special equipment, but okay, ropes, right? Let's say ropes are needed. So ropes are needed for the tour, right? The word order would be absolutely the same. The second question, on the other hand, is not a subject question. It is an object question because the subject here is I, right? Not the special equipment. Okay. Okay, not going to underline anything. Fine. I is the subject, right? So we do need do as our auxiliary to make a question, right? We do need to change the word order and add an auxiliary verb do to ask this question correctly. What special equipment do I need for the tour? You need ropes for the tour, right? Ropes are the object of the sentence, so that's why this is an object question, you know? Okay, we are, of course, studying all the types of questions and all the grammar behind them at our course. And, well, probably we will also have a separate stream on speaking to, where we will study all the types of questions and the grammar behind them. Okay? Are there any questions about speaking to, guys? Well, if you have any questions, please write them in the chat, and we are moving on to speaking 3. Whew. Okay, almost done, guys. Half is over, right? But speaking 3 and speaking 4 are much more difficult than the first 2 tasks, because here you do need to have the actual free speech speaking skill, right? It is extremely important for both of these tasks. Of course, knowing the structure, right, of the tasks, knowing what everybody wants from you is also important. But it's really hard to do anything in speaking 3 and speaking 4 if you don't talk at all in English. And I do know students who don't like talking. Please get over it, right? Please start practicing speaking, because, well, it's one of the most important skills when you're learning a language, right? You cannot learn a language without actually speaking it, right? So again, our speaking club helps you here. So at our course, everybody can attend a speaking club once a week. That is an absolutely amazing opportunity. Okay, guys, what you see here on the slide is everything you're going to see at the exam for speaking 3, right? That's the whole task, nothing else. You're going to give an interview. That is the idea behind this task, right? That's our story here. You're going to hear the interviewer, right? They are going to ask you questions. It can be he or she, doesn't really matter. And you have to answer those questions. There are exactly 5 questions that the interviewer is going to ask you, but some of those questions contain more than one question, right? So there are like 5 time slots that you can that you have to answer questions in, right? But some of those questions that an interviewer is going to ask you might contain more than one question. You have to answer all of them, right? Everything that the interviewer asks of you, you have to answer, even if you don't like the question. Sorry. Okay, give full answers to the questions. 2 or 3 sentences. Guys, this is an extremely important thing to remember. You have to say at least 2 sentences, right? 2 is the minimum. So even if your answer contains your answer to the question, right? But you only said one question, unfortunately, that might lose you points, right? So at the course, we are training and practicing, right, on how to answer even simple questions in at least 2 sentences. That is very important. And the last thing, remember that you have 40 seconds to answer each question. Guys, you don't only have 40 seconds to answer each question, you have 40 seconds for everything, right? So from the moment that the interviewer asked you something, you get 40 seconds. In those 40 seconds, you have to think and say everything you want to say. That is not an easy thing to do, right? So you do have to practice a lot for this task during this year to complete it successfully. Okay, our strategies. The first strategy is, of course, that we do need to listen very carefully because, again, that's all you see when the interviewer is asking you a question. You do not see the question on the screen, which makes us listen very, very, very carefully, right? Because we do have to hear the question, understand it, and also understand the tense that the question was asked in, right? To answer it correctly, right? Number 2 is about the number, right, of sentences. We do need 2 at least, right? 2 sentences, again, is the minimum. And we separate those sentences with intonation. Again, we fall at the end of our first sentence so that the expert understands, like, that was the first sentence, now the second sentence starts, right? So separate your sentences with intonation. Do not rise at the end of the sentence, right? Not like that. We fall at the end of the sentence, right? So that the expert understands, like, this is it. This is the finish of my first sentence. Now I'm going to start my second one. Okay, number 3, tense plus fully and to the point. Okay, so tense is here because we do need to answer all of the questions in the same tense they were asked in, right? That is just how, I don't know, everything works, right? If you answer it in a different tense, the expert might think that you did not understand the question. Moreover, you might actually answer the question incorrectly, right? Because you used a different tense. Fully and to the point. What do those things mean? Well, fully means that you answered all the questions. For example, you can get something like, do you like eating ice cream? Why or why not? Right? If you say, yeah, I do, that's, not a full answer, right? And you do have to say, yes, of course I do like ice cream. I like ice cream because blah, 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 right? You need to say why. So if you answer all the questions that the interviewer asked you, not only the first one, not only the last one, but all of them, right? And you answer them to the point. So you actually answer the question that was asked, right? If the question is, do you like ice cream? You don't say something like, well, usually I don't like cold food, but maybe if that ice cream is Japanese and it is fried, maybe I do like ice cream. I'm not sure, right? That's not the answer to the point, right? You do have to say, like, explicitly, I do like ice cream, or no, I don't like ice cream, and then say why, right? Guys, and number 4 is also extremely important. It's not in the instruction, but you do have to remember about this. You cannot make any simple mistakes in your answer. you will lose points if you make a simple mistake in your answer. What are simple mistakes? Well, there is a list, right, by FIPI, by the people who actually created this exam, right? There is a list of mistakes that are considered simple mistakes. Those are mistakes below the level of A2, right? So, I don't know, S at the end of the verb, right? In present simple with he, she, it. That is a simple mistake, right? And if you make that mistake in your answer, you're not going to get a point for that task, even if you did answer the question fully to the point with 2 sentences and correct intonation, everything, right? You make a simple mistake, that's it for you, right? But you can still correct yourself, right? So if you correct your mistake yourself, then you still get a point. But if you don't, if under stress you don't notice the mistake that you made and you do not correct it, then you lose a point, unfortunately, right? Other simple mistakes that come to mind right now are forming comparative adjectives, for example, or adverbs, right? That is also a simple mistake. Using the is, the ra incorrectly, forming past simple incorrectly, using incorrect word order, right? All of those are simple mistakes. And we do not get points for our answers if we make those mistakes in our speech. Okay, let's hope that this year we are going to study grammar so much that we will never make any mistakes whatsoever, right? That is not realistic, of course. We are going to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Native speakers more than anyone else, right? But at the exam, we do have to keep in mind that even if we do make that mistake, we have to correct it ourselves, okay? To the points, guys. How many do we get? Well, we get asked 5 questions, right? Or at least 5 sets of questions. Some of them might be only one. Some of them might be more than one. We get 1 point for each question. And we get asked 5 questions. So for speaking 3, we get 5 total points. Okay? 5 total points for the whole task. All right, let's have a look at, well, what we actually hear in speaking 3, right? We only looked at what we see, right? This is what you're going to hear when you are at the exam, right? First of all, the interviewer is going to introduce the topic, which is also actually important for us because we can, well, I don't know, mentally prepare, right, for what's to come. The topic here is in bold, right? You can see it right here. Hello everybody, it's Teenagers Around the World channel. Our guest today is a teenager from Russia. We're going to discuss teenagers' attitude to local places of interest, right? So this part, the part in bold, is always different in all speaking tasks number 3, right? Would like to know our guest's point of view on this issue. Please answer 5 questions. So let's get started. Everything else is always the same, right? They say the same speech for every task, but the topic is always different, and it might give you, I don't know, 10 seconds, right, to think of all the vocabulary that you studied so hard during the year and so on. Then the interviewer asks you the first question. In this case, this is again, guys, from the demo version from FIPI, right? 2024. What are some of the places of interest in your region? Why should a tourist see them? So again, you do not see this question, but you hear it. So you listen very carefully to it and you remember that there were 2 questions that the interviewer asked you. First, what are some of the places of interest in your region? And the second one, why should a tourist see them, right? So we have to answer 2 questions. The first sentence we might say, well, is just listing the places of interest in your region that you find, I don't know, attractive, right? Or cool or interesting, right? So I can say some places of interest in my region are Gorky Park and the Historical Museum, right? But then after I fill at the end of my first sentence, I also have to answer the second one. Why should a tourist see them? So I can say something like, I think every tourist should see Gorky Park because they can have some fun and look at beautiful nature there. The historical museum is also very interesting for tourists because there they can learn something new about the culture and the history of Russia. Right? So I got 3 sentences there, right? I did need to mention at least 2 places of interest because the question was with are some of the places, right? So not what is the most interesting place of interest, right? But what are some of the places? So I might have to mention at least 2, right? And then I have to answer the question, why do I think, all right, tourists should visit them? Okay, question 2. Is it important to preserve historical places? Why or why not? Again, 2 questions, right? First of all, to the point. The second one, why you think so. So guys, here also very important to notice that you can say, no, it is not important to preserve historical places. Yeah. If that's your opinion, you can share it here, right? Nobody's going to punish you for an unpopular point of view, right? But then you have to explain why not, right? Very, very important here. Okay, next question. What is your favorite place in your hometown? Why do you like it? Right? Well, this is a very easy question if you've thought about this at least once in your life, right? What is your favorite place? It might be any place, right? In your town, like a cafe, a park, I don't know, your school maybe. Oh my God, right? Even, I don't know, your home, right? That's also a place, right? And it can also be your favorite place, right? But then you have to remember to explain why you actually like that place, right? It could be any reason at all, right? There are some good memories, right? That's why I like it. This is because there I can enjoy the peace and quiet, right? Because there I can be alone and think about everything, right? Or the other way around, because there I meet with my friends and we have a lot of fun, right? Anything, right? Any reason works if you explicitly say that that's the reason. Yeah, this is why. This is because. I like it because, right? And so on. Next question. What sort of places will be interesting for people in the future? Why do you think so? Guys, will be interesting, right? We are using the future tense here in our answer as well. And we don't forget to say why we think so, right? So, I don't know, for example, to my mind, people in the future will be interested in the same places as we are. I think so because I don't think people change a lot, right? I don't know, something like that. All right. So any reason, again, for your opinion is going to get accepted if it is structured correctly. And last question. How can we make teenagers be more interested in local culture? Right. Questions like that usually, well, students don't like questions like that, right? Because you actually have to think here, right? You can't just say anything, right? You have to think about your answer, and they only give you like 40 seconds to think and to share your opinion. So it is quite hard, right? At our school, of course, we are practicing on how to do that. Moreover, we actually take most of the topics that can be like the center of speaking 3, right? And we discuss them a lot, not only at our speaking clubs, but also at our seminars, right? And we take popular questions, we answer them together, we form our opinions on stuff that we haven't thought about before, right? And we discuss these things, and it's actually a beautiful thing to do, right? It can be very interesting if you delete the stress of the exam preparation from it, right? And that's what we actually try to do at our course. All right, so please do sign up, right, for the course, and we'll practice together. I'll be happy to see you there. Okay, we are moving on to speaking 4. Speaking 4 is the most difficult task in the speaking part. Some might say that this is the most difficult task in the whole exam, right? Well, we can argue, but it doesn't really matter what's the most difficult thing, right? We do need to study how to complete them all, right? So let's have a quick look at speaking 4 together. The idea here is that you're recording a voice message to your friend, right? That's like the main thing. What's the story behind it? Why are you doing that? Well, this year they've actually added a line, right, on why you're actually recording this voice message to your friend. You and your friend are doing a school project, right? Here you always get a topic of your school project. In this case, sports activities, right? This task again is from demo version 2024. You can see the watermark here. You have found some photos to illustrate your project, right? But for technical reasons, you cannot send these photos to your friend, right? I'm not sure what those technical reasons might be, right? But whatever they are, we don't care, right? We care that the person cannot see the pictures, but that's why you're actually describing these pictures to your friend, right? To illustrate your project. We are leaving a voice message, right, to our friend explaining our choice of the photos and sharing some ideas about the project. In 2.5 minutes, be ready to, right? 2.5 minutes is the time that you can take to prepare for the speech, for the monologue that you are about to make. Then we got a plan, right? We should follow this plan definitely, yes, but there are a couple more things that are not in the plan, but without which you will lose points. We are going to talk about them on the next slide. You will speak for no more than 3 minutes, 12 through 15 sentences, and you have to talk continuously. The last thing here, you have to talk continuously, means that if you make a pause, an illogical pause in your speech, you are going to lose points for the organization of your statement, right? You will speak for no more than 3 minutes. 3 minutes is the time that you can take to actually say your monologue, right? You're not thinking here of course, you're always thinking, right? But you're not preparing during this time anymore, right? This time is for you to actually produce the speech, right? The time for preparation is over, right? 2.5 minutes to prepare, 3 minutes to deliver the speech. 12 through 15 sentences, that is also an important thing to remember about. But actually, if you're studying with us right now, right, and if you are going to practice doing this task during this year, it's quite hard to cover everything with less than 12 sentences, right? So I wouldn't worry about the number of sentences. I wouldn't count them in my head, right, and do that while you're actually talking, because if you say everything, if you follow the plan, there are going to be 12 sentences in your speech. And I think that counting them in your head is only going to distract you from the important stuff, right? And that is actually following the plan, saying everything you wanted to say, right? And everything you need to say. Okay, those things that are not in the plan, let's have a look at them. This is a thing that I created, right? This is like a scheme of what we do, right, for successfully completing speaking 4. Let's have a look at it. Well, 3 minutes for the speech, right? 12, 15 sentences, that's the goal, right? The first thing we do is we study the task and the photos. For that, we got 2.5 minutes, right? We study the task. What does it mean? Well, we look at the pictures very carefully, right? We are looking at the plan, because in the plan, there are also important things for us to notice. For example, the first thing, the first part of the plan is absolutely the same all the time, right? In every task number 4, this point is always the same. But 2 and 3 are different, right? You always get the topic, right, of which you have to mention the advantages and the disadvantages, right? 2 sports activities in this particular task. Then number 4, right? Point number 4 here, also, there are important things to notice. Which of these sports activities presented in the pictures you'd prefer and why? Right, what we need to notice here is the topic of our opinion, right, that we need to speak about, right, and the form of this verb you'd prefer. We need to use the same one, guys. If we use some other form like we prefer in present simple or we preferred in past simple without this you would prefer, you'd prefer, that is going to be considered a mistake, right? So let's use the same form as we have in the task in our final point. But what we actually start with is an introduction, right? Let's delete maybe this number 1 because that is before we actually. Okay, do I have like a an eraser here? No, really? Oh my god. Okay. Okay. Okay, I can delete. Okay. All right. That works. Okay, so the first thing we do, we say, right, when our 3 minutes start is an introduction, right? It is not in the plan, but you cannot do without it, right? What has to be in our introduction? We do have to say hi. We also have to name our friend. For example, my best friend is Mary, right? So I'm going to say, hi, Mary. I have found some photos for our project. I'd like to describe them to you, right? Something like that. A very short introduction, but it has to be there. We do have to say hello and we do have to name our friend, right? I know that it sounds a little bit weird, right? Because I don't know about you, but I never say hi in my voice messages. Maybe I'm just impolite, but it's just not my habit, right? So when I'm recording a voice message for my friend, I usually just say, I don't know, oh my God, I'm so tired. I want to lie down, right? I want to sleep so much today. And that's it, right? I don't say hi, I don't say bye, I don't do any of those things, right? But at the exam, you do have to do that, right? Because, well, the experts believe that you cannot start a conversation with a person without saying hello, right? It does seem logical, right? It's just not real life, but that's why you're here, right? That's why you're studying the strategies for speaking for me to say those things to you, right? So we say hi, we say what we're going to do, right? I'd like to describe the photos to you. Then we are actually doing that. We're describing the photos, right? A brief description of both of the photos and 1 or 2 differences between them. This part also has to contain the fact, the reason for your choice, right? Why you chose this particular photos for your project, right? You have to, well, argue that, right? You have to say why. Then number 3. Oh my God. Okay, let's say that's 3. 1 advantage of the topic in each picture, right? So the advantage of the first sports activity in our task, right? And the advantage of the second sports activity illustrated in the second picture, right? Guys, here, a very important thing to remember is that we're not mentioning advantages or disadvantages of the photos, right? Not the photos, the things in the photos, right? The topic is, well, here sports activities, right? So we need to mention the advantages of the 2 sports activities. If we say that the advantage of the first photo is that, I don't know, and the disadvantage of the second photo is that blah, 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 we are going to make a logical mistake, right? The advantage of the photo can only be that it's, I don't know, good quality, right? Or that it's bigger or whatever, right? But we don't need that. We need the advantage of the, well, the thing that we are actually talking about. Yeah, in this case, it's sports activities. In other things, it could be, I don't know, different types of foods, right? Or whatever you have in the task. Okay, next, one disadvantage of the topic in each picture. That's our number 4. You have one here everywhere because I believe that one is enough. If you think that one is not enough, if you think that, well, there are 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages to each of these things, of course you can mention them, but be very, very careful and practice that because you only got 3 minutes, guys. It is not a very long time, right? It's not a lot, believe me. So one is enough, right? One for each topic, right? One for football, one for swimming. Then again, one disadvantage for football, one disadvantage for swimming, right? One is enough, but if you really want to, and if you're like a fan of risk, of course you can mention more, right? Just be sure to mind the time, right? Then number 5, our final point in the task, right? Give your opinion on the topic and explain. Let's have a look again at this number. Well, here it's number 4, right? But in our plan, in our true plan, it's number 5, right? Express your opinion on the subject of the project. Which of the sports activities presented in the pictures you'd prefer and why? Guys, if you say that you'd prefer running, you're going to make a mistake, all right? Because we need to say which of the sports presented in these pictures, right? In photo number 1 and in photo number 2, right? Not some other sports that you like and you really want to share your opinion on it. Unfortunately, here we only got 2 choices, right? Activity from photo number 1 and activity from photo number 2. You do have to choose between these, right? And you do have to use the same form of the verb. You'd prefer, right? So this last passage would sound like I'd prefer. Okay, I prefer swimming because I think it is a very relaxing activity, right? Why is also important, right? So you don't only have to say which one, right, you'd prefer, but also why you would prefer it, right? You have to explain your opinion. If you do only one, right, if you only say which one you'd prefer, that is going to affect your points, right, your final points. Okay, and the last one, guys, we cannot finish with our opinion. We have to conclude, right? How do we do that? We can just say, all right, Masha, that's it for now. Please tell me what you think about the pictures. Bye-bye, right? Something like that is absolutely enough, right? If you see that you don't have enough time, it's like 2 seconds left, you can just say bye, right? Say something that concludes your speech, right? Do not just end your monologue with your opinion. You do have to conclude it, right? You have to say goodbye to your friend. That is, again, not in the original plan in the task. So, guys, it's extremely important for you to remember that while you are speaking, right? Here, first, you do have to say hi, right here, before you explain the choice of the illustrations. And at the end, you do have to say bye, right here, after your opinion, right? Those things are extremely important if you want to get maximum points for this task. And the maximum points are 10 points. 10 points for only one task, right? It's extremely, I don't know, at the same time, it's very good, right? 10 points is a good idea, but at the same time, it's like so much pressure, right? So please do practice this year, right? Come to our course and we'll help you with everything, with the plan and with practice. Okay. This is our final, I don't know, slide on speaking 4, right? Again, don't forget about introduction and don't forget about the conclusion. They are not in the original plan. They're not in the task that you see at the exam, but they are very important. They do affect your final points, right? So please do remember about them. Okay. Summing up, guys, the whole oral part, right? We got only 4 tasks. The first one is to read the text aloud, and you get 1 point for it if you do everything correctly. Pronounce the words correctly, use the correct intonation, and make pauses where you need to, not where you felt most scared, right? In speaking to, we need to ask questions based on some advertisement that we see on the screen, and that task can get us 4 points maximum if we ask 4 questions correctly. Speaking 3 is an interview, and here you need to answer questions. A very important thing to remember about this task is that you do not see the questions on the screen, you only hear them. So you need to be very, very careful. You get 5 points for this task if you answer all 5 questions correctly, fully, and to the point. Speaking 4 is recording a voice message to your friend on some project. Here you're describing pictures and you are, well, discussing, right, all the advantages and disadvantages of the topic given to you in the task. And for this task, you can get 10 maximum points. Guys, all this sums up to 20 primary points, right, which will get you some, well, different final points, right? But 20 is a very high number, right? The whole exam gets you 82, right? 82. And for the speaking part, you get 20, right? 20 out of 82 is a lot of points, right? I cannot tell you anything about percentage, because I cannot do anything with math. But even for me, even for a person who does not know anything about math, this seems like a lot of points, right? So that must tell you something, right? Guys, oh, sorry. That's it from me today, right? A couple more words about our course, right? Ну, по-русски, да, потому что слайды на русском для меня подготовлены. Давайте я вам по-русски же и расскажу все наши прикольчики. Во-первых, у нас есть интерактивная платформа для подготовки. Платформа очень удобная, на ней вы, собственно, смотрите лекции и проходите все наши интерактивные задания в течение лекции и после лекции, и как домашнее задание. Домашнее задание есть после каждого урока, и его важно выполнять. Почему это так? Ну, кажется очевидным, да, но, к сожалению, не для многих очевидно, поэтому я, наверное, побуду тут капитаном очевидности и расскажу, почему же так важно выполнять домашние задания, да, особенно, когда мы имеем дело с изучением языка. К сожалению, услышать что-то 1 раз или даже 10 раз нам бывает недостаточно. Для того, чтобы усвоить все, что угодно, абсолютно все, что угодно, нам нужно это попробовать сделать самостоятельно. Для этого у нас существуют домашние задания, в которых вы практикуетесь, набиваете руку, делаете кучу ошибок. Правильно, так и надо, все замечательно. Ошибки — это вообще наши друзья, когда они не на экзамене, да. Чем больше мы сделаем ошибок в наших домашних заданиях, тем меньше мы сделаем ошибок на экзамене. Поэтому очень важно делать домашки, даже когда что-то осталось непонятным. Кроме того, если вы сделали ошибку в домашнем задании, вы обязательно увидите правильный ответ и увидите, почему ваш ответ неправильный, а правильный ответ правильный, right? То есть в домашнем задании вы можете, ну, так очень быстро и, ну, скажем, не знаю даже, как это назвать. Сори, по-русски у меня речь вообще страдает сильно. Я очень редко говорю по-русски на публику. Вот. Но, в общем, шапочно, наверное, так я скажу, на очень русском, можно снова повторить весь материал, да, потому что все объяснения включают в себя, по сути, ну, я не знаю, 80% урока. Да, если вы сделали ошибку, вы видите объяснение, решение, ну, какого-то определенного задания, да, и вам объясняют еще раз, почему это вот так, а не по-другому. Это очень клево, и это очень помогает запомнить, да, если не получилось с первого раза, то со второго, если не получилось со второго, то с третьего, с четвертого, пятого, десятого и так далее. В принципе, возможности здесь безграничны, да, насколько вас хватит, какой-то мотивации внутренней, столько и можно раз все повторять. Все уроки, собственно, можно посмотреть в записи, да, и семинары, и разговорные клубы. Ну, разговорные клубы смотреть в записи, наверное, довольно бессмысленно, потому что здесь вся суть разговорного клуба в том, чтобы на нем разговаривать, да, в том, чтобы развивать навык нашей свободной речи. Это очень важно. Вот, поэтому они у нас и существуют. Много сегодня говорила про разговорный клуб, так как тема все-таки устная часть. Надеюсь, все запомнили, что у нас очень классный разговорный клуб, и можно на него приходить, тренироваться, общаться, обсуждать интересные темы и, ну, даже заводить друзей, почему нет? Да, все-таки, когда вы разговариваете на какие-то актуальные темы, затрагиваете какие-то, может быть, даже личные моменты, ну, настраивается какой-то connection с другими людьми, и можно очень даже и подружиться таким образом. Такой бонус к разговорным клубам, к занятиям английским. Да, на нашей платформе есть также удобное расписание, да, и список дел. То есть вы заходите в свой профиль, и вы видите, что вам на этой неделе нужно сделать, что вы уже сделали, эти штуки помечаются галочками, что вы пропустили, тоже, кстати, отмечается и напоминает вам, что, дорогой мой друг, надо все-таки сделать, да. Интерактивные видеоуроки. Да, но уже рассказала, что и задания у нас есть, и конспекты у нас есть всех этих уроков, и их можно посмотреть абсолютно бесконечное количество раз, если ну, вам это необходимо. Это тоже абсолютно нормально. То, что вы не поняли что-то или не запомнили что-то с первого раза, это вот не кто-то дурачок, да, ну, это нормально. Я вообще знаю очень мало людей, которые с первого раза что-то запоминают или понимают. Это клево, конечно, очень, но это очень редко. И, ну, стремиться к этому, конечно, надо, но, наверное, развивая какие-то, не знаю, метафизические способности, вот. А так для абсолютно среднестатистического нормального человека очень даже адекватно посмотреть 2-3 раза один и тот же урок, да, чтобы он как-то усел в голове, чтобы все было понятно и чтобы что-то отложилось и запомнилось. Вот, поэтому мотивирую всех смотреть все по несколько раз, останавливать, перематывать и повторять, и это очень, очень клевая стратегия. Домашки, да, про домашки тоже уже рассказала. Вот так они примерно выглядят. Их можно делать как на компьютере, так и на телефоне. Здесь вот вы видите скриншот с телефона. Тоже довольно удобно, да. Потыкали, потом увидели решение. Очень прикольно. Практические семинары, да, после интерактивных уроков, после того, как вы посмотрели интерактивный урок, сделали все задания к нему, сделали домашку, вы встречаетесь всегда с преподавателем онлайн, задаете ему все свои вопросы, не знаю, дружите, ругаетесь и вообще наслаждаетесь живым общением с преподом. Про ежемесячные пробники тоже вначале рассказала, вот так они примерно выглядят. Абсолютно полный вариант ЕГЭ или ОГЭ, если вы занимаетесь с нами для сдачи ОГЭ. Полный пробник со всеми вопросами, со всей структурой, да, настоящего экзамена, чтобы вы могли попробовать понять, где вы сейчас, что вам еще нужно повторить, где надо подтянуть, может быть, не знаю, попросить преподавателя завести второй разговорный клуб, да, чтобы было больше практики речи. Все что угодно можно понять с ежемесячным пробником, потому что это, ну, контроль прогресса, да, каждый месяц. Вот. Это полезно и для вас, и для нас. Удобные чаты. Да, в чатиках у нас тоже всегда идет диалог, да, в нем тоже можно всегда спросить что угодно, задать вопрос, получить ответ, не знаю, просто пообщаться, поделиться впечатлениями, пожаловаться на что-нибудь, типа тут кнопка не работает, пожалуйста, сделайте что-нибудь. Ну, как бы со всеми бывает, ребятушки. Ну, типа, технологии — это магия. Для меня так точно. Я вот тут слово подвинуть на PDF-файле не могу, так что бывает всякое. В чатах все обсуждаем, всем помогаем, все клево в них. Уведомления тоже, чтобы никто ни о чем не забыл. Важная штука, да, потому что все-таки, ну, мы знаем отлично, что в 11 классе у вас очень много дел, очень много задач, работ, которые нужно написать, про которые надо вспомнить. Поэтому предусмотрена система уведомлений, да, чтобы вы не забывали, когда у вас там что, и не держали это все в своей голове. Что тоже важно, перегружать голову — это опасно. Жду всех с огромным удовольствием. sharing English is my passion, right? So please do come to our school, study with us, and get better at English. Пожалуйста, поставьте лайк этому видео, подпишитесь на канал. Во-первых, чтобы не пропустить ничего важного, интересного и клевого. Во-вторых, чтобы мне было приятно. И чтобы алгоритмы Ютуба помогали нам распространять нашу полезную, важную и клевую информацию дальше по людям. Ребят, спасибо большое за сегодня. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you for your attention. And well, I will see you in a week, right? We'll have another stream next Sunday. Bye. Have a nice evening, everyone.